So today we're going to be having our first hands-on experience with the drum kit. Now don't worry, if you don't have your drums yet, it's fine, and you can just go and get maybe a cushion, couch, or something like a carpet where you can just have a surface that these sticks bounce off of. But what will be important for this lesson is having these sticks so you can get your first hands-on experience. Now, to start off, to hold the sticks, you're gonna wanna have your pointer finger and your thumb on this, maybe a bit lower, according to how big your hand is. And after that, just wrap the rest of your fingers around loosely, and that's it. Now, what you wanna do before you get started is, if you're on a snare, you're gonna wanna get this thing on the right. Now I have this opened. Normally, this thing is gonna be closed. Now this is sort of a switch for how you turn on and turn off the snare. And a lot of the times it's a latch that comes out like this, or it goes in. You can find it anywhere around your snare. And usually it's just something that you pull or push. And in this case, I pull it, and the sound goes from a crisp sound like this to a bassier sound like this. Now this sort of quiets it down and makes sure there isn't too much meaningless noise in the room, considering that we're only going to be playing the snare today. But if you're not playing on an actual snare, don't worry about this, but keep this lesson in mind for the future. Now, what are practice pad patterns? What practice pad patterns do is they prepare you and they prepare your hands to go and be able to start playing on the drums as soon as you start trying to play an actual beat. So what you want to do is, based on the device you're using, either download an app called a Metronome, any one of them. Like, just look it up on the App Store, the Play Store, or whatever it is for the device you have, and download one of the better looking apps that are called Metronomes. That's MetronomE. And if you're on a laptop or a computer, just open a new tab and look up online metronome or just metronome and get that going as well. Now, what a metronome is it's a tick that sort of makes sure you're on track when you're playing something. So it would sound a little something like this. And you can adjust this pace based on a measure called beats per minute, or BPM. What that means is how many of these ticks and how many of these beats you're gonna hear in 60 seconds. So to start off, try without the metronome and play at your own pace. So starting off, you're gonna wanna start with a pattern that you generally call RLRL. All that means is right, left, right, left. So you hold your sticks, as I mentioned earlier, fingers and thumbs and hands all around, and you just hit. Make sure your arms aren't moving and it's just your wrist, okay? For now, if your arms move a little, it's fine, but make sure you work on that and it doesn't happen in the future. Something like this. Now, what you want to do, start slowly. Right, left, right, left. Try something else like LRLR, or left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right. Now, while you're doing this, what you don't want is two completely different volumes, and you don't want any inconsistencies either. So if it sounds a little something like, work on the softer hand, or find a way to control your stronger hand. Or if it sounds a little something like this, make sure you learn to control your hands control your wrists, and get that constant sound going. So here's where the metronome comes in. What you want to do is start at a slow pace, something like 60 beats per minute, which means every second there's going to be a tick. This might be too slow for you or too fast for you, but start off at this and then you can tone it down or tone it up. And it's going to go at a constant pace, and all you want to do is go along with it. So if the pace is play at, do this with both patterns and try and tone this up until you're able to reach about 100 BPM. Now that you have a bit of coordination going, let's try to strengthen your wrists and strengthen your overall movement. Now what you're going to want to do is, for now, lay one hand down and just put it off to the side. You can still have it in this position, and in fact it would be better that way, but go for a slightly slower pace again and try to use the metronome and keep up with the pace with only one hand. So if the metronome goes, you go. And try to do this for something like 2 minutes and see how your hand holds. After this, make sure that you don't strain your muscles and you lay your hand down like this. After your hand has been going through constant movement for this long, you want to make sure that you don't get any internal muscle injuries and you just lay your hand down. Try this with your other hand and do the same thing, laying it down and letting it rest for at least half the time that you were playing for. Now with this, try and get a little pace going and keep on going till about 160 BPM. If you cannot reach this pace, whether you've practiced for a few hours, a few days, or even a few weeks, stop there, take a break, and if you carry on this lesson plan, eventually you learn to build your pace up. If you find yourself getting tired very early though, you might want to make sure that your wrist movement is actually working. Now here's where we try to build technical skills rather than movement-based skills. I'm going to have a bunch of different patterns based on R and L, right and left, down in the description, and I want you to try every single one of them at about 80 BPM to 100 BPM, faster if you can, and keep on practicing this. Anyways, that's going to be it for this lesson. Make sure to tune in for the next one, and make sure to practice everything down in the description down below. If you didn't understand anything, make sure to leave a comment and I'll answer it as soon as possible. And until then, have a good one.